Hey guys, Sean here, and welcome to the F1 Word. Now, ahead of the new season, I made a few predictions for the 2025 campaign based on testing as well as gut feelings, hopes, dreams, and, well, vibes really, let's be honest. And although many of you will argue that with just 5 races down and many more to come yet, it is a little bit too early to be writing my guesses off already, but I've got to say, there are a few predictions I'm really starting to wish I hadn't made. So, with Miami on the horizon, I thought it would be a bit of fun, and that's all it is. If I take a look at just 5 of my pre-season predictions I already wish I hadn't made, including 2 that incredibly I'm already wrong on even this early in the year, and that is impressive even for me. First up then is probably the worst prediction I made over the winter in that it didn't take too long before I was proven wrong. Back in January, I said that I thought Liam Lawson would get the whole season alongside Max Verstappen at Red Bull. I even included the belting line, and although he may not fight for the title and will be well beaten by Max in the end, I think he will surprise a few with his speed and will just about do enough to stay where he is for the year. Yeah, good one. As it turns out, and as I'm sure you remember, he did surprise a lot of people with his speed, but not in the positive way I meant it. But in his defence, he did only get 2 race weekends to show the team what he could do in that car. And regardless of how you felt Lawson would or wouldn't do or did or didn't do at Red Bull, that is nowhere near enough time for someone to settle in, get up to speed and adapt to what is clearly a difficult car to drive. No, this isn't a review of the Kiwis' 2 races at Red Bull though, and I'm sure you're all sick to death of that conversation by now anyway, but I was well wrong on that one, once again proving that when Sean makes a prediction, you certainly can't take it to the bank. Now, to say this next one is a prediction I regret might be a bit of a stretch, mainly because I'm very much Team Piastri and or Team Verstappen this year, and I would love for either of them to win it. On top of that, we are, again, only 5 races in and there are only 10 points between them at time of recording, but in my final predictions for 2025, I did go with Lando Norris for the title this year based on his experience, as well as the fact, if we are being generous, he has sort of maybe, perhaps, possibly been in a title fight-ish already. I guess that depends how you felt last season went towards the back end, but there we go. However, the biggest surprise to me so far has been Oscar Piastri, and he could be set for a really special year. Look, I'm not shocked by his speed because we'd already seen he had it, but the way he bounced back from that mistake in Australia, the coolness and the calmness he's demonstrating so far, and the fact he has won 3 of the opening 5 races, I really, really regret not going with him for the crown this year. What a start he has had. I guess it is also worth noting that in my blind predictions at the very start of the year, I did actually say that I felt Max Verstappen would somehow find a way to take his 5th title this year, and I'd argue that if Verstappen keeps plugging away at picking up good points and if Red Bull can solve their car issues, he's still got a great shot at taking the title. In fact, because apparently I can't stop making predictions even though I'm terrible at them, I'll even go as far as to say that as of now, we might be looking at Piastri versus Verstappen for the championship, the Aussie potentially a bigger threat to the Dutchman's title than Norris. I will also add that I still wouldn't be remotely shocked if Max is crowned a 5-time champ in Abu Dhabi. The guy is just inevitable, isn't he? But let's wait and see what happens in the coming weeks. I am saying this on the Monday night ahead of the Miami Grand Prix, and so I am fully prepared for a Lando domination weekend that puts this video out of date pretty much immediately and makes me look very stupid, and I don't need any help with that, thank you very much. Super quickly, I know this is a predictions regret video, but for those interested, and as we are talking about the title, I don't regret going with McLaren for the constructors. I think they've already got that pretty much under control. It's also worth a mention, as a bit of a bonus if you like, you're very welcome, that I was wrong with Piastri for the win in Australia, Norris of course taking that one, and that was another win for head over heart right there. Next up, in my early blind predictions, I stated that Jack Doohan wouldn't make it to Miami as Pierre Gasly's teammate at Alpine simply because at the time, it felt like the wheels were already in motion for Franco Colapinto to replace him at the earliest possible opportunity. But whilst he hasn't been spectacular, nobody's claiming he is, I'm sure, Doohan has actually done an okay job and seems to have put those rumours on the back burner for now at least. So unless something absolutely insane happens in the next couple of days, and you never can be too sure when it comes to F1 and indeed the likes of Flavio Briatore, he will almost certainly make it to Miami as Alpine's 2nd driver. And do you know what? I'm really, really pleased for him. I've said a lot over the last few months that I really wanted Doohan to ignore those rumours, hop in that car and show the team that he was good enough to drive for them for the whole season. Stake a claim for that seat longer term, I suppose. Now, of course, despite going quiet, the rumours are still floating around, so I suspect that unfortunately, Doohan is just going to be one of those drivers who has to spend his entire career, however long it may be, having to deal with the constant speculation about his long-term future. And I hope he keeps proving people wrong. Time will tell. My penultimate regret is not a regret in the same way the other picks are, but I said that I expected Gabriel Bortoleto to be the rookie who impressed me the most this year. And whilst I don't think he's had, all things considered, a terrible start to life in F1 at all, I do regret not going with somebody else on this one. But who, Sean? I hear literally none of you cry. Well, there are two possibilities here. I'm not hyping up Kimi Antonelli at all. Contrary to what the internet may think, you can give a positive or even negative critique without fanboying or hating on a driver. I know, huge if true. But he has surprised me massively so far in 2025. I really thought this was going to be a year too early for Kimi and that he would really struggle massively against George Russell. And all right, yeah, he is being beaten by the far more experienced Brit to, I imagine, nobody's surprise. But he's still done a cracking job so far in 2025 and deserves a lot of the praise he's getting. However, I really regret, with the benefit of hindsight and 5 full race weekends to go off now, not going with Ollie Bearman. Sure, he had a tough start to his full-time F1 career in Australia, to put it mildly, but he is currently tying with his teammate Esteban Ocon in the qualifying teammate head-to-head based on sessions they have both competed in. He is only losing 3-2 in the Sunday races as well, and although he is 8 points worse off than the Frenchman, the young Brit is currently on average 0.025 seconds faster than Ocon in Grand Prix qualifying. I'm not stupid, I know that's not a huge gap, I get it, it's not all that impressive, but it's still a really solid effort when you consider how much more experienced Ocon is, although with another caveat slapped on top of that, Ocon is still settling into a new team himself, so that probably should be taken into account as well. So yeah, the point is, whilst Bortoleto still might end up being the rookie that impresses me the most come the end of the year, Bearman has probably been the rookie that has impressed me the most at this stage of the season. And yes, before you say it, I know he'd started 3 races before this season even got going, but by definition, this is still Bearman's rookie season, so he absolutely still counts in this prediction. And finally, I've got to address this one. This is the one that caused a bit of controversy, to put it mildly again, when I made it in my predicting every teammate battle video back in early February. And that was this gem when talking about Hamilton versus Leclerc at Ferrari. I'll say Leclerc wins in terms of race head-to-heads and points come the checkered flag in Abu Dhabi. But how's this for a prediction? The two drivers tie in the qualifying head-to-head with less than 1/10 of a second on average between them. Two things. Firstly, no, I'm not completely stupid. And secondly, I hope you're enjoying the impression I'm doing of myself when reading my quotes. Anyway, now that line was very much a let's go bold kind of call, but it annoyed more than a few people who felt I was just ignoring how good Leclerc was over one lap and the job George Russell has done against Hamilton at Mercedes, but that wasn't the case at all. I just wanted to make things a bit more interesting because I felt, and I still feel, a lot of the teammate battle picks were pretty obvious for 2025. 5 races down, and, well, I'm even less confident now on this one than I already was. It is currently 4-1 to Leclerc in the quali teammate battle, and if you're keeping score, 4-0 in Leclerc's favour in the Sunday races both drivers have finished, or more specifically haven't been disqualified from. The average gap between them in Grand Prix qualifying is 0.313 in Leclerc's favour, which, by the way, although that is a bit of a hefty gap, given the discourse around Hamilton, I actually thought that was going to be a much bigger gap than it actually is. It's not good, but I was expecting worse when I looked at the numbers to do this video. Has got to be said, of course, that Lewis does have the team's only win of the season so far thanks to his excellent drive to win the sprint in China. Obviously, on all of these predictions, or almost all of these predictions, there is a very long way to go this season. There is plenty of time for, in this case, Lewis Hamilton to bring that gap down. And hey, maybe come the end of the season, I'll end up being absolutely bang on the money, yeah right, or it could, at the very least, end up being much closer than it is right now. But given his struggles and the doom and gloom around this season as a whole for the 7-time world champion, it's tough again right now to see that happening. But as I always say never, and we'll probably revisit these in the summer break to see how I'm getting on with, more than likely, a load more incorrect predictions to add to this list. That is it for this one then, but just a reminder that this was just a little bit of fun ahead of Miami and a chance for me to be self-deprecating, as well as an opportunity for you all to laugh at my pre-season optimism or, as is more likely, stupidity. But do you have any 2025 predictions you are already starting to regret? And if so, you can let me know your thoughts in the comments section down below. And for the latest news, analysis and reaction from the world of Formula One, head on over to planetf1.com. But as ever, thank you for watching. I've been Sean, this has been the F1 Word, and until next time, goodbye.